Okay, so earlier today I just got this molten speed wax through the post, and I just want to show you guys the process that I'm going to be using to apply this to my chain. So I'm actually going to be applying it on a brand new Shimano chain that I've got here. I've already taken this chain out of the box and I've put it in some alcohol to help remove any of the grease residues on it. As you can see, the chain is in here, so you definitely want to make sure that you submerge whatever chain you have in alcohol or any other degreaser to remove any residues so that they don't interfere with the wax application process. So most methods for applying any kind of wax, including this one, suggest using something like a slow cooker in order to melt the wax into a liquid, and then you're supposed to submerge your chain into the molten wax to help fully cover the chain in the wax. I don't have access to a slow cooker at the moment, so I'm just going to be using the broiler method instead. So I'm going to show you guys how that's done. So the broiler method mainly just involves, I guess, having a pot here full of water, and then inside this heated pot you're going to get some sort of bowl or another pot, and this is where your wax will go. As you can see, if I put it inside the water, this second bowl will float by itself, and then you can add the wax into here and then slowly heat up the main bowl. So I'm going to be putting my cooker on the lowest setting to slowly heat up this main pot in order to heat up the second bowl. So by using this method with the broiler method, it just helps make sure that the wax doesn't get too warm, because if it gets too hot and the temperature becomes too high, it will give off some nasty fumes that you don't want to breathe in. So I've just opened this bag of molten speed wax, and inside you're going to have to find this zip tie in here, which I think is just used in order to help seal up the bag once you're done with this process. So I'm just going to leave this to one side. So all you have to do is place the wax into the bowl. I think I'm going to try and use the whole amount today. And I think you should also, as you can see, it came with a few chunks that you'll have to break down. So if you just squeeze them, they should break down like so. That will just help it to melt faster. So the final step, once you have the wax inside the bowl, which is itself submerged in some water, you just need to turn on your cooker to the lowest setting. And then you just wait for it to melt, which should take a few hours. Okay, so while we have this pot in here with the wax melting, which is going to take a while, likely several hours, I just want to talk to you guys about why you'd even bother applying wax to your chain. So one of the most common reasons that you'd hear why people apply wax is actually because it helps reduce friction. Wax-based lubricants have been shown to have the lowest friction levels of any kind of lubricant that you can apply to your chain. But those kinds of improvements that you'll see from applying wax are rather negligible unless you're at the really high level of cycling. So if you are a pro racer or really advocate cyclist, then I think it's going to be really worthwhile applying wax. However, if you're not at such a high level, then those kind of gains will be negligible. So in addition to the reduction in friction that the wax-based lubricant provides, which is rather minor but still noticeable at a very high level, and the fact that the wax is much more durable, so you have to apply it less frequently, the other reason why I'm applying this wax is because it's just much cleaner. So when it comes to applying the wax and then you want to touch your chain after riding on really long rides, you'll find that the chain is always squeaky clean. So you're never going to get any sort of marks on your legs when you're wearing shorts, or if the chain pops off the sprocket, you'll never have to get your hands dirty when reapplying it, because the chain will always be clean. So that's one of the biggest pluses why I'm personally doing this, because I just like the idea of having a very nice and clean chain. Okay, so finally, I think one of the main last reasons why people actually use a wax-based lubricant is due to its higher protection that it provides on the chain and other drivetrain components. So things like your rear sprocket and your front chainring will last much longer when using a wax-based lubricant. So they last about 3 times longer. So in the long run, despite the fact that buying a wax initially can be more expensive, because I do believe this bag right here costs around £20 in the UK, so it is a rather expensive lubricant as an upfront investment. However, it does last much longer. So you can use the wax multiple times on the chain, because you're using such a small volume of wax on your chain that a whole bag will really last you a long time. And the other factor that you have to consider is your other drivetrain components will last much longer. So in the long run, a wax-based lubricant is actually much more economically feasible. I think it's important to consider that despite the fact that you'll have to apply this wax much less frequently, it is a bit of a hassle to have to apply it, because you have to melt the wax, clean your chain beforehand, then wait for the wax to dry, and so it is a whole hassle process to apply the wax onto your chain. So there is that trade-off between having to apply it less frequently, but each time having to apply this wax, it will be more difficult than using a normal liquid lubricant. Okay, so I just wanted to give a quick update on how the wax is doing. I've just got a little coat hanger here to help stir it around. So as you can see, it's basically all fully melted now. So I'll leave it for a little bit longer, then I'll go grab the chain to submerge it in the liquid. And I'll catch up with you guys then. Okay, so I'm pretty sure this wax is now fully melted. So I am just going... yeah, you can see how it's fully melted right here. There is some like residue particulates at the bottom, and that's just the molybdenum and the PTFE, which is inside the wax to help lubrication. Those are solid particles, so they do sometimes separate, but that shouldn't be a problem, because once we put the chain in there, we'll use the chain to mix everything together. So what I have done with the chain, as you can see, the chain is right here. I've attached it to a coat hanger, as you can see, and I've looped it around. And now you can just insert this chain fully into the hot wax, like I am doing. So as you can see, initially, some of that wax will solidify because the metal is cold. Having a little, then you can get it fully submerged into the hot wax. So you need to keep it in there. Most people say they recommend around 15 minutes, and I think that's what the instructions say as well. And while it's in here, it's very important for you to swish it around quite a bit to make sure all those particulates get mixed in really well. So yeah, once you get to this stage, just leave it there in 15 minutes and I'll catch up with you guys then. Okay, so as you can see, it's been around 15 minutes for this wax right here. And so what you do now is, you can see it right there. So you just take it out and then go hang it somewhere for it to drip dry. To drip dry fully. And so I'm going to need 2 hands to do this, so I'll show you once it's hanging and drying off. I would recommend as you're moving it, you keep the second ball underneath it to catch any drippage. Okay, so once you take out the chain from the hot wax, and then you just need to hang it somewhere to drip dry, and you should end up with it stuck like this. So I just put right here a bit of tarp on the floor to help catch any of the drippings that don't get caught into the rest of the wax ball, which is right there. So yeah, this is the chain right here, and it's just hanging from a pull-up bar that I had, which I sometimes use. Now you might be wondering why I have this cassette right here. Well, it's actually a freewheel. I don't really use this freewheel, I just had it hanging around. So some videos on YouTube about chain waxing recommended also waxing your freewheel at the same time. However, this is not included in the instructions, so I don't really think waxing your freewheel and other drivetrain components is necessary, because the whole point of waxing is to get in between the rollers which are between the chain. However, there is no purpose to be gained from waxing the actual cassette and the freewheel. So despite what some videos have done, I wouldn't recommend, because I don't see the point of waxing your rear sprocket. Okay, so this is where we're up to with this chain right now. So I let the chain drip dry overnight yesterday, and this is where we're at. As you can see, the chain is pretty stiff because all the wax has solidified on it. So at this point, all you have to do is just work each link to break up the wax and help it start moving again. So as you can see, it's difficult to do with one hand, but yeah, so like this you just have to break each link so it starts to move normally. So now that I've removed all of the wax that was keeping the links stuck together, you can see that the chain is now much more flexible. And also I just wanted to point out that you should remember to put in the quick link pieces into the molten wax when you do it. So yeah, this is the chain now. As you can see, it's very flexible. However, this is not at its optimal condition. It will still take around 30 kilometers of riding to help break down all of the extra excess wax and only leave the wax between the rollers. And after around those 30 kilometers, you would start getting the optimal performance of your chain. So yeah, I think that was the full process of how to wax your chain. I would show you guys of me actually putting this on my bike, but I've ordered some other drivetrain components and I'm still waiting for them to arrive by mail, and I think they're going to take a while, so I'm not going to be able to show you guys with this actually going onto my bike. But other than that, I think that was the full process on how to wax your chain. And if you guys have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments below. Another thing that I just wanted to add on, once it comes to the chain, all the wax being worn off the chain, after around 300 kilometers in dry conditions, you just have to go through the process again. To remove any extra old wax that's stuck on the chain, all you need to do is just pour some hot water onto it, and then you just go through the whole re-waxing process again. So yeah, I hope this video has been helpful. Thank you for watching.